I'm 24, and I think my boyfriend secretly married someone else, and I have no proof. Yet. Last month, I found a pair of earrings on our bathroom counter that definitely weren't mine. That's how this started, not with a big confrontation, or some dramatic phone call, but with a quiet moment of confusion. I remember standing there with a damp towel around my neck, staring at those tiny pearl studs like they were ticking bombs. They were delicate, simple. Not flashy. But I don't wear earrings, haven't since I was 16 because of a nickel allergy. So whose were they? My first thought was innocent, maybe his sisters, maybe even his mom's? I hadn't met either of them, but I'd seen photos. But then again, I'd also never seen them set foot in our apartment in the 6 months I'd lived there with Nate. And that's where the questions started stacking up. Nate and I have been together for a little over a year. We met through mutual friends, hit it off fast, and after just 5 months of dating, he asked if I wanted to move in. He said it would save both of us money, make commuting easier, all the usual reasons. And I was smitten, still am, maybe. So I said yes. He was perfect. Thoughtful, stable, easygoing. Always remembered little things, like how I take my coffee or the fact that I hate cilantro. There was never any reason to doubt him. Until the earrings. When I asked him about them, he didn't even blink. Said they must have belonged to a coworker who stopped by to drop off paperwork the week before. His explanation was clean, casual. Too casual, if I'm being honest. He said she used our bathroom. Said maybe she left them there by accident. I wanted to believe him. But something about the way he said it, flat, like he'd rehearsed it, made my stomach twist. So I let it go. Out loud, anyway. But inside, something started unraveling. Because that wasn't the only weird thing that's happened lately. And I'm starting to think he's hiding something way bigger than a forgotten pair of earrings. The first real red flag came a week later. Nate left his work phone at home. Now, this phone is like his third arm, he takes it everywhere. It's separate from his personal phone, and he's always been cagey about it. Says it's for corporate stuff, and that it's locked down with all kinds of security, so I shouldn't bother trying to use it. I never questioned that. He works in finance, and they do have strict policies about data. But that day, it buzzed. Loud. And he wasn't home. I wasn't even trying to snoop. I was doing laundry when I heard the vibration. I walked over, glanced at the screen, and froze. The message preview said, "Hey, my mom wants to know if you're still coming to the house this weekend. She's making biryani again, yellow heart. No name. Just a number." It was the heart emoji that made my chest tighten. I just stood there, staring at the screen like it would give me more answers if I looked long enough. He never mentioned a visit to anyone's house. He told me he'd be working all weekend, helping with year-end reports. Said I probably wouldn't see him much until Sunday night. And biryani? He hates biryani. Or at least, that's what he told me. So I took the smallest step down a dangerous road. I copied the number and texted it from my own phone, pretending to be someone else entirely. I used a fake name. Something vague, nothing flirty, just enough to get a feel for who this person was. I didn't expect a reply. But I got one. "Hey. Sorry, who's this? Did Nate give you my number?" My heart dropped. She knew his name. Didn't even ask which Nate, like a casual acquaintance would. She knew exactly who I meant. I didn't answer. And now I can't stop thinking about something Nate said during our first month living together, how he used to be married, but it ended quickly and wasn't worth talking about. Said it was just a paperwork thing, no emotions involved. I didn't press him then. But now? Now I'm wondering if he ever actually got divorced at all. I didn't sleep that night. I just kept playing that message over and over in my head. Did Nate give you my number? Like it was normal. Like this woman was used to getting texts from people Nate knew. I didn't reply. I deleted the text, cleared my history, and spent the next day pretending nothing was wrong. Nate came home late, said he'd been in back-to-back meetings. He looked tired. Worn down. But still, I couldn't help staring at him differently. Watching every move, every word, wondering what was real and what was just a well-practiced script. Then I did something I probably shouldn't have. I went into his wallet. It wasn't even locked up or hidden. It was just sitting on the kitchen counter like he had nothing to hide. Maybe that's why it hit me so hard when I found it, a folded piece of paper tucked behind a business card. It wasn't even a whole document, just a slip, creased from being handled too many times. It was a marriage certificate, from another state. And the kicker? It was dated 9 months ago. We'd already been living together for 3 months when he married someone else. I felt like the floor dropped out from under me. My brain went into overdrive trying to rationalize it. Maybe it's old? Maybe it's a mistake? Maybe it's not my Nate? But the names were clear. His name. Her name. Her name was Sana. It wasn't a mistake. I didn't confront him. Not yet. I put it back exactly how I found it and tried to act normal. But inside, I was screaming. Because now I wasn't just suspicious. Now I had proof. And I needed to figure out who Sana was. Because I don't think she knows about me either. I waited 2 days before doing anything. 2 days of pretending I didn't know my boyfriend was married. 2 days of making small talk, eating dinner, and watching TV beside him like everything was fine. I didn't sleep. I barely ate. I kept waking up at night with my heart pounding in my throat, wondering how deep this lie really went. Then, yesterday afternoon, while Nate was in the shower, I searched his phone for one thing, her name. Sana. And there it was. Not in his messages, but in his calendar. Repeating entries. Dinner with S. Call with S. Visit S's mom. Some entries were color-coded. Red. Personal. There were even 2 weekends blocked out every month. No notes, just unavailable. And that's when I knew, he was with her during those weekends he said he was on call for work. The pieces were clicking fast now. I remembered all the times he told me not to tag him in photos, how he kept his social media accounts private for work reasons, how we never once met each other's families even after over a year together. This wasn't just a fling. This wasn't a mistake. This was a whole second life. So I made a fake profile. Took a couple hours to make it believable. I found Sana on Instagram, private account, but her profile picture matched the face on the marriage certificate. She was pretty, confident, normal. She looked like the kind of woman who planned brunches and posted about her dog. Then I checked her tagged photos. And there he was. Nate, standing beside her in a family portrait, smiling, arm wrapped tight around her waist like it belonged there. He was wearing a wedding ring. I stared at that photo for 5 straight minutes, trying not to throw up. And then I did something I never imagined I'd have the courage to do. I messaged her. I kept the message simple. I didn't accuse her of anything. I didn't drop the bomb right away. I just wrote, "Hi. I think we should talk. It's about someone we both know." Then I waited. Hours passed. I couldn't focus on anything. I sat on the couch with a book open in my lap that I didn't read a single word of. Every time my phone lit up, I flinched. But nothing came. Until the middle of the night. At 2:17 a.m., she replied. "Who are you? Who do we both know?" I stared at the screen for a long time. My hands were shaking. I didn't want to tell her like this. I didn't want to be the person who ruined someone's entire life over a message. But I had to. I sent a photo. Just one. The slip of paper from his wallet, the marriage certificate. I'd taken a picture when he was at work, just in case I needed it. I wrote, "This is him, right? I live with him. I'm his girlfriend." She didn't reply right away. The typing bubble appeared. Disappeared. Came back. Then finally. "Are you joking?" I told her I wasn't. I gave her my real name. Told her I'd been dating Nate for over a year and living with him for 6 months. I told her I had no idea he was married until I found that certificate. That he never mentioned her, never wore a ring around me, never acted like he was anything but single. Her response came fast this time. "His name isn't Nate. His name is Amir." That's when everything stopped making sense. Because now I wasn't just dealing with a liar. I was dealing with someone who had 2 names, 2 lives, and no conscience. I barely slept after that. I kept reading her last message over and over. His name isn't Nate. His name is Amir. I felt like I was falling into some kind of twisted movie plot, except I wasn't watching it. I was living it. With every new piece of information, the man I thought I knew disappeared a little more. Sana and I ended up talking for almost an hour. She was calm, too calm, honestly. Like she'd been suspicious for a while, but never had enough to prove anything. She asked me questions, what city we lived in, what he told me about work, what kind of car he drove. I answered everything I could, and it was like watching dominoes fall for her. He told her he traveled for work, that he had a long commute, that he stayed near his job during the week to avoid the daily drive. That's how he explained being gone half the time. She thought they were building a future. She'd just started looking at new apartments for the 2 of them. Said he promised they'd move in by the end of the year. Meanwhile, I've been living with him. Sharing rent. Splitting groceries. Building my future. She wasn't crying. Not then. But I could hear something in her voice, like she'd gone numb. Then she said something I wasn't prepared for. "I'm pregnant." I just sat there in silence. Like my brain refused to accept another blow. Pregnant. She's 12 weeks along. She just had her first ultrasound last week. Nate, Amir, was there. Held her hand. Kissed her forehead. He was with her the same weekend he told me he was flying to Chicago for a client meeting. I couldn't even speak. And for the first time since this whole nightmare started, I felt small. Like I didn't just lose a boyfriend, I lost a version of my life I thought was real. But then Sana said something that snapped me out of it. We have to ruin him. Together. I didn't answer her right away. We have to ruin him. Together. It echoed in my head like a challenge, like a dare I wasn't sure I had the guts to take. Because until that moment, I'd been surviving, barely keeping my head above the flood of lies. But Sana? She was already swimming in it, calm and deliberate. Like she wasn't just grieving the betrayal, she was preparing for war. She told me she had her suspicions weeks ago. That the late nights, the cold responses, the way he flinched when she mentioned the future, it all felt off. But she wanted to believe it was stress. Work. New responsibilities. The baby. Anything but another woman. I told her everything I'd been through. The earrings. The text. The marriage certificate. The second phone. And suddenly, we weren't strangers anymore. We were casualties of the same disaster, standing in the wreckage, staring at the same man from different angles. And we both wanted answers. So we made a pact. No yelling. No drama. Not yet. We'd watch him. Compare schedules. Record conversations. We'd keep everything quiet until we knew exactly how deep this went. Because if Nate, Amir, was living a double life this smoothly, there had to be more. Maybe other women. Maybe money involved. Maybe something worse. I offered to install a second tracking app on his phone. She said she'd get into his email, he'd left his laptop open once before, and she remembered the password he typed. We agreed not to confront him until we had everything. Every message, every receipt, every lie. And then we'd both be there. Face to face. He wouldn't see it coming. And for the first time in days, I felt something like power. He didn't know I knew. And that made all the difference. We didn't have to dig far. Turns out, when someone thinks they're invincible, they get sloppy. Sana got into his email the very next day. He used the same 2 passwords for everything, his middle name and the year he graduated high school. Lazy. Arrogant. Fitting. The inbox was chaos. Multiple bank accounts under different names. 2 separate Venmo profiles. Receipts for hotels in cities he was supposedly working in. One of them was only 10 miles away from the apartment I shared with him. And worse, there were emails to a third woman. This one lived out of state. He'd been flying to see her for work. The emails weren't sexual, but they were full of plans. How much he missed her. How he couldn't wait to take her to that little cabin in Oregon they'd talked about. There were photos of them together at a vineyard, him in a linen shirt I thought he lost months ago. Sana sent me the screenshots. I couldn't breathe. He wasn't just cheating. He was collecting lives like souvenirs. Compartmentalizing every version of himself to keep the others from colliding. But he slipped. Because in one of those emails, he told that woman, her name was Emily, that he couldn't make their next trip because his wife had a medical emergency. He meant Sana. And in another email, he told her he was single. That he'd been single since that messy breakup last year. He meant me. We weren't dealing with a guy who made a bad decision. This was someone who built a system, who learned how to lie with efficiency, like a second language. Sana and I called that night. We didn't even cry anymore. We were over the heartbreak. This wasn't about love anymore. It was about exposure. We picked the day, the time, the location. And we were going to end him, with a smile. We chose a Sunday afternoon. The place? A quiet little cafe near the park, neutral ground, public enough to keep him from causing a scene. Sana told him she wanted to have a calm talk about the baby. Said it was important. He agreed right away. I told him I was spending the weekend with a friend. He didn't question it. I kissed him goodbye that morning while he tied his shoes, wondering if he had even the faintest idea what was coming. He didn't. When he arrived, Sana was already seated. She looked calm, radiant. Even pregnancy had that effect on her. I was sitting at the table behind her, wearing sunglasses and a hoodie. Hidden. Watching. He walked in like a man who still believed he was in control. Smiling. Relaxed. Then he sat down, and Sana pulled out her phone. She started slow. Asked him how work was. If he was feeling stressed. She touched her belly like a cue. He softened a bit, leaned in like he was about to say something sweet. Then she slid a photo across the table. It was the marriage certificate. He flinched. That's when I stood up and walked over. He froze when he saw me. Eyes wide. Pale. And I wish I could say I felt triumphant. That I smiled. That I stood tall and delivered some mic drop speech. But I didn't. I just sat down beside her and said, "So which one of us is the real wife?" He didn't answer. He just stared at the paper like it might change if he looked hard enough. Sana leaned in, deadly calm. "We know about the emails, the other woman, the cabin in Oregon. We know everything." Still nothing. Just breathing. Shallow, stiff. Then he tried to speak, tried to spin it, said he was confused. That he never meant to hurt anyone. That he was under pressure. That he loved us both. And that's when Sana pulled out her second phone, the one recording everything, and placed it between us. He stopped mid-sentence. "You'll get to tell your story," she said. "To your job. To your friends. To your third girlfriend. To the internet, if you want." His hands started to shake. I looked him dead in the eyes. "I packed my things. I'm moving out today. You won't find a trace of me left behind." Sana nodded. "And I've already filed for annulment. You're free. Congratulations." He didn't fight. Didn't argue. Didn't even say goodbye. He just sat there, crumbling in silence, while the two women who knew him best got up and walked away, together. We didn't look back. Sana and I walked out of that cafe like strangers shedding a storm. The silence between us was solid, not awkward, not empty, just done. No more questions. No more pieces left to gather. We'd both been fooled, cracked open, and now, we were free. I moved out that same day. I didn't wait. My stuff was already boxed up. Sana helped me plan every detail. While Nate was busy swallowing his panic and pretending he still had control, I'd been one step ahead. I changed my number. Cancelled the joint utilities. Took my name off the lease. Left the keys on the counter with a sticky note that just said, "Good luck explaining this one." He texted me that night. 37 messages. I didn't open a single one. Sana went even further. She emailed the third woman, Emily. Sent her everything. The emails. The photos. The audio. A gentle message explaining that we weren't blaming her, but she deserved to know the truth too. Emily's response came the next morning. She had no idea. She ended things immediately. Said she was getting a lawyer, because apparently, she had been sending him money. So yeah. There's that. Turns out this man wasn't just a liar, he was a con artist. Emotionally. Financially. Strategically. He had systems. Timelines. Scripts. But even the best liars get lazy. And this time, he picked the wrong women. Sana and I kept in touch. She's doing well, all things considered. She decided to keep the baby, her choice, her strength, and she's got a solid support system behind her now. I check in on her once a week. Sometimes we even laugh about it. How we went from strangers to soldiers in a shared war. As for me, I'm healing. Slowly. It still messes with my head sometimes. The idea that someone can stand beside you, sleep beside you, eat dinner with you, and be someone else entirely. But here's what I've learned. When your gut whispers, listen. When something feels off, it probably is. And when the truth comes crashing through the walls of your world, let it burn. Because on the other side of that fire, there's freedom. And honestly, it's never felt better.